to say to them today, it's not the Britain you believe in, it's not the Britain I believe in, it's not the Britain this party will ever be satisfied with.
It's often a good idea on the day of the leader's speech to get out of the conference bubble and get a sense really of the dissonance between the world as it's viewed in there and life as it's lived out here. What do you think are the biggest sort of issues affecting this part of Manchester?
Money.
money, no work.
Money, it's all about the money.
No work. Some people do wrongs because they're forced to. It's not because they want to. They have no choice.
People don't choose to be on the door. Everyone that I know wants to work. But works for what? I mean, £6 an hour. What is £6 an hour anyway? If you don't feel good about yourself, there's nothing going to work.
Nothing going to work.
You
How
know?
do you make people feel good about themselves then?
Well, to give them what they want, a job.
Don't work.
Do you not?
No.
You're on benefits?
Yeah, I'm sick. I just had brain surgery. Tell you. That's why I asked her to move my hair because you can see the hole. I tried to get DLA for 4 years and I wasn't entitled to it because they said I wasn't sick enough. Having brain surgery and not be able to walk and things like that, it has a repercussion, £150 a fortnight. It don't go nowhere.
Do you notice that round here that people who perhaps are on benefits, who are on the dole and so on, are having a harder time?
Of course, they're going to have a harder time. There's no jobs for them to go and work so you can get your half your housing benefit. If they stop the housing benefit, what they're planning to do, struggling, people are going to lose their homes.
So if they make the benefit system tougher, what will happen to people?
People are going to starve. People are going to starve. A lot's gone wrong with the system. The people that need it ain't getting it and the people that don't need it ain't getting a whole heap of it.
Labour has a big problem. Over the last 10 years, politicians on all sides have embedded poisonous, divisive ideas like welfare dependency and the need to supposedly crack down on benefit cheats. Labour has yet to decisively change its tune, but if it doesn't, what will all that stuff about one nation actually mean? It's very telling that at conference, this huge issue is confined to the margins.
Labour's got to win on welfare. The problem is this: social security doesn't enjoy social support and it doesn't offer much security. What Labour has to do is drag social security into the 21st century.
This fringe meeting's about Labour and the voters. It's rather thinly populated, perhaps because it's organised by the Times and people think there might be a paywall.
Conservatives have crossed the line on compassion, and I think that some of the cuts that are going to kick in to disability benefits next year.
It seems like there's been a slight shift of tone from Liam Byrne. Only recently, he was making noises about benefits that were interestingly similar to the kind of stuff you hear from his Tory opposite number, Ian Duncan Smith.
But, what is right, and what is right now is fundamental reform of that test.
Are there moral arguments as well about the treatment not just of disabled people, but people on out-of-work benefits, for example, who are, it strikes me, the victims of a system which is conditional but increasingly punitive?
What it speaks of is a failure of the government's work programme to get people into work on the one hand, and on the other, a disastrous macroeconomic policy.
Is
and
your
that can't be
criticism
right.
that it doesn't work, or is also your criticism that there's something in it which does have a moral aspect, which is about the way that human beings are treated, out-of-work people are being treated, is wrong in a moral sense?
My argument is this: when it comes to getting people back into work, it should be a balance of opportunity and responsibility. If people can work, they've got a responsibility to do what it takes to get into a job. But the flip side of that coin is that you provide the opportunity.
You yourself believe, to any extent, in the idea of welfare dependency?
I think there are people who get trapped on welfare, as you put it. I think there are people who don't fulfil their responsibilities. I think, I have come across those cases, but I think it is
what proportion then?
I wouldn't put a number on it. It's a tiny minority.
See, the rhetoric even from the Labour Party often suggests that they're a sizable enough minority to make a lot of noise about.
Well, look,
so we have this thing about we don't want a something for nothing culture. That implies this is a huge problem.
we don't want a something for nothing culture. I mean, that's
But
just a
the
statement
evidence
of the
suggests
obvious.
it's infinitesimally
Yeah,
small.
but the truth remains. But, there are other kind of aspects to the argument that we need to add and enlarge over the next year.
What's your key point of difference with Ian Duncan Smith and what he's doing?
The key point
Given that he would argue that he's picked up where you left off, where the Labour Party left
The
off.
key point of difference is that Ian Duncan Smith is delivering a financial cuts target. Full stop. What we believe in the Labour Party is that anybody, no matter where they're from, if they want to get on in life, we should be there to help them.
I was hoping you might say something like he's tearing down the welfare state, which is one of Labour's proudest creations.
Well, he's smashing it up, but the key difference is he's delivering a financial cuts target. That is the devil's deal that he's done with George Osborne.
Right, Liam Byrne here has left the building and he's on his way to a jobs fair at Manchester College and we're following him. Stalking you, perhaps.
Welcome to Manchester.
Social security, ain't that things like that stuff to protect your privacy and your business, like and confidential things? No?
Like spies and stuff.
Like spies? Like the security service or what have you? No, social security is what they used to call welfare.
Oh, welfare. So that's.
What would you call it? The benefit system and all that, what would you call that?
What would I call the benefit system?
The benefit system.
HELP.
Help. Some people think there's a comfy life on benefits.
No, not at all, not at all.
How hard
not
is it?
All. It's hard because you don't get much on the penny. You don't get to live on. You're just struggling basically. I don't want to struggle. I'm nearly 42.
We're from my side. It's like your area and like who you with and everything. Because if you're around people with no ambition, then you're just going to think, okay, fair enough. It's happy being on benefits. That's just how it is.
How did the job centre treat you?
Bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
I go there and I really want a job. I hate not having a job. But the job centre treats you like everyone's comfortable being on benefits.
Say you can't get to there on time because there's only one bus that runs to that place, and you know what I mean? You don't get there on time and then they say, right, we're stopping your benefits because you've not got here. It's just horrible.
Well, you think the benefit system should be a bit tougher?
Yeah. I think
you can't have it both ways. You don't like the way you get treated down the job centre. If the benefit system was tougher...
But if jobs were actually there, then I don't think people would be on benefits.
So that's the big issue. The big issue is there's no job.
Yeah.
The party in power wants to get tougher and tougher on people on benefits. Where should the Labour Party be on as regards people on benefits and the way that they're treated?
Just understand the situation, instead of judging.
The benefit system is being torn apart. The last government, ministers constantly talked about people on benefit being welfare dependent. And is it surprising? The British Social Attitudes Survey the other week shows a doubling in the proportion of people who think that if we make benefits less generous, people will stand on their own 2 feet. We've got to go on the offensive and not simply roll over and say, oh, right, well, that's what we're told on the doorsteps, therefore we have to cut Social Security. David Cameron made this speech in July, I think it was, or June, the Blue Water speech, where he declared war on the Social Security system. And Labour's response was, well, there wasn't really much of a response at all. It was just kind of, well, it won't work, rather than this is wrong, wrong, wrong.
The Tories are going to come for Labour on this at the next election. One strongly gets the sense. They're already using these phrases, the workers, not the shirkers and all this.
Absolutely.
And they're going to want to paint you into a corner. And very often what any political party does when that happens is it feels that it somehow has to answer the criticisms of its opponent.
I know, but
and therefore sort of run onto their turf.
I'm determined that Labour wins on welfare at the next election.
Does that necessarily mean spending, that ideally you will be spending considerably less on the benefit system in 10 or 15 years' time than it's being spent at the moment?
I think we're going to have to look at the...
that's the Tory argument.
Sure, but I think we're going to have to look at the money closer to the election.
So, there you go. Vote Tory and you get a social security crackdown with a budget target. Vote Labour and you get a social security crackdown without a target. Makes you feel better, doesn't it?